Hey, what's up guys? It's Jack and welcome back to another video and a very recent Mark Rubin interview along with the creative director of XDefiant as well over at IGN. Mark Rubin kind of gave us a little bit of a sneak peek in terms of what we're going to get tomorrow in terms of the Ubisoft event that's going on. That's literally going to show off what we're going to get in Season 1. And he answered a bunch of really good questions and in a really good way. And if you look between the lines, he even kind of... well, I'll let Mr. Rubin take, speak for himself in this one so that way you guys can see. But the first thing that they get into is talking about the reception of the game as well as reaching within 2 weeks or so 10 million players. So I'll be right back. I'm going to let Mark talk about this and we're going to break it down and go back and forth. So Mark, take it away.
How has player reception been so far?
So far, it's been amazing. First off, you guys have a really loud crowd here, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they've been bringing the energy.
Yeah, they are. No, the reception has been amazing. You know, we've been kind of keeping the game kind of low-key, right? Like, we're not spending $250 million on crazy trailers. We're a low-key game. We're just here for the fun, for the fans, and building it with the community. You know, the game's been out for less than 3 weeks now, and the reception has been extremely positive. We hit way bigger numbers than we expected.
We love that.
We were a million in an hour. We were hitting 10 million within less than 2 weeks. So the numbers have been absolutely amazing. I think the important thing, though, for us is we're not concerned about winning the sprint. We're concerned about winning the marathon, right? This is a long-term game, and we want to be committed to these guys. And that's what it's about. So.
Okay, so next up, he's asked what the approach of the game is to building the community. And I think you guys are really going to like his answer. And I'm not going to speak for him. Mark, take it away.
What can you tell me about XDefiant's approach to building the community?
We have been community first since day one. Literally, when we wrote up our first deck, it was like the pillars were be good at shooter, be good with the community. That was it. That was our deck. And we were like, this is the game we want to make.
Pillars.
And, you know, I think if you guys see me, I'm on Twitter every single day, answering questions, doing tech support, whatever it is. I'm here for the community. And we listen to the community. We get their feedback. We make changes. We've made plenty of changes along the way during our development. One of, for instance, the things that players have been asking for in the two and a half weeks that we've been live is a TDM mode. And so we'll be seeing that in a couple weeks. Announced here that in a couple weeks we'll be seeing TDM. So that's where we focus. It's on these guys.
Well, so there you have it. Team Deathmatch coming in 2 weeks. And I think that's not the only game mode that we're going to get. I think in very, very soon to be time, so to speak, I think we're going to get a few more. Yes, there's been leaks, which we're not covering here because, again, out of respect for the devs, it's something that we don't do around here, even though I would absolutely love to. So unless Mark Rubin over on Twitter or something like that himself says, yeah, go ahead, it's already leaked, go ahead and cover it, which I don't think is going to happen. But out of respect for the game and what the devs are trying to do, we're not covering that. But in the next part of this interview, he gets asked about how they handle player feedback and what their deciding factor goes in terms of what they put into the game versus what they don't put into the game and how they decide that. So I'm going to let Mark speak here and we'll be back.
How do you determine maybe player feedback and decide, okay, this is a great idea that we want to implement, or maybe this is a great idea, but not for our game?
That's a challenge.
I mean, as always with player feedback, it's first hard to, compile all that, but we have great tools and great teams to do that. But then we have also a data team that is allowing us to look at all the data that is coming from the game that is played. And then we try to combine all those things to see really what makes sense to change. Then we exchange, as Mark mentioned, on Twitter and other channels with the community. And we know if a change is not good, we can re-change it after. Again, it's a game that is there to evolve with its community. So, yeah.
And I think to add on to that a little bit, one of the big focuses for us has always been transparency. So, I'm planning on sharing the data that we collect, and not just saying, well, the data says we're not going to do that. I'm going to show the data, and we'll talk about it with our community and make decisions together.
Wow, imagine that. Actually, a dev that not only tells us, the community basically says, well, our data says this. They're actually going to share the data. I mean, how many developers out there actually share the data? Now, I don't know how in depth he's going to share in terms of numbers and stuff like that. I think he's going to go above and beyond what other devs share. So that has yet to be determined in terms of the nutty gritty, the nutty details about that. But with that being said, it's still a step that's way above. And this is one of the reasons why the community supports the game. This is another reason why Mark Rubin gets the kind of credit and that he deserves, quite frankly. And if he keeps going on this kind of if he keeps going like this, it's going to be absolutely incredible. And I actually think that the game is actually, in the long run, I think it's just going to continue to evolve and get better and better, as opposed to a game that dwindles over time. I think XDefiant may be an exception to that, at least in theory for now, to where the game actually does get better over time. And I'm actually really pleased to hear about the crowd, cheering on everything. So next, in this next piece over here, he's basically asked what the purpose of XDefiant is, and things that they're planning to bring to the game, et cetera, et cetera. So I am going to let the man answer the question for himself, and then, as always, we'll be back.
So what would you say the purpose is behind XDefiant, and what does your team want to deliver to players?
I think the purpose is simple. We knew that arcade shooter is something that first we didn't have at Ubisoft, so we really wanted to get a game there. But then something that installs for the long run, as Mark mentioned, for the marathon. That's really our main objective, which is why we want to listen so much, because that's the way I think we can stay for the long run. So yeah, it's really that first step also of having a great feel of the game that has been the top priority from the beginning. So having the fluid gameplay as the first step. And so far from the feedback, it seems like we are tracking on that. We're still going to improve, obviously, but it's really what we want to do.
Okay, so here's one of the juicier parts of this interview. I mean, granted, this whole interview is pretty juicy in and of itself, but he has asked, how does XDefiant cater to pros, casual players, and sweats, et cetera, et cetera? And I think a lot of you are really going to like this answer. I know that there's a small percentage of people that will watch this video that will not like the answer simply because of the thought philosophy or whatnot. But this is the answer, and this is the way it should be. And the reason why I say this is the way it should be has absolutely nothing to do with my age. It's simply because of the fact that I firmly believe, because I've been through it myself, and I'm going through it again with XDefiant because it is a new game. So I am continuing to learn the game and adjust to the differences between a game like this and a game like Call of Duty, because it is not a clone, so to speak. And the reason why I mention Call of Duty is because about 3 years ago or so, I was just a Call of Duty player. And now I don't even play Call of Duty anymore. And now that this game is back, I have been grinding it nonstop. I've already put in crazy amount of hours. And my results have shown me, well, pretty much what Mark Rubin is going to mention here. So without further ado, Mr. Rubin, take it from here.
Mm-hmm. So how does XDefiant cater to both FPS pros, the sweats, and casual players?
Well, the way we've been handling it is by mixing them all up in the same playlist. We don't have skill-based matchmaking, so players, you get in the game old school, OG style. If you're not good, that's your opportunity to get better, and you should see yourself improve and get better. So, yeah, that's been a huge part of our sort of our goal and our platform for this game. We will be adding, right now we're only in preseason. It's sort of a warm-up to get to the real game. Tomorrow at UB Forward, we're announcing what we're planning to show for Season 1. But one of the things that's coming is ranked mode. So we do have that sort of play casual, do whatever you want, play with weird guns that you're not used to playing with, enjoy yourself, have fun, play with your buddies. And then ranked mode is there for people to sweat if that's what they want to do, and grind those ranks.
All right, so next, Mark Rubin is asked about the different Ubisoft games and if we're going to be seeing any sort of parts of the different Ubisoft franchises into XDefiant. And though he's not able to give a straight up answer because that would be a spoiler, that would be kind of ruining the game for itself, ruining surprises. I don't think, obviously the leaks haven't shown everything. So despite the fact that they've showed a lot, they haven't shown everything. So I'm pretty sure at this point that there still are things that we still don't know about yet. But anyway, let's let Mark Rubin answer this, and we'll come back.
Yeah, I mean, the plan is to really have a game celebrated at each season. So as Mark mentioned, tomorrow at UB Forward, we'll reveal what Season 1 will bring to the game.
Cool. Mm-hmm.
So a new faction coming from that game, 3 new maps, new weapons. So all that will, start that grow and expand principle I was talking about earlier. So yeah, each season will really celebrate a Ubisoft IP, basically.
Yeah, I think that's important. We promised to the community early on that we would deliver a map a month. So 1 new map every single month. And again, the thing that people sometimes doesn't click is Ubisoft has a huge portfolio of IP that has nothing to do with shooters. And they will make it into the game at some point.
Okay.
It's going to be cool.
For sure.
It's going to be fun.
That must be fun on the developer end as well. You're playing some Ubisoft game and, this might make a good map for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's fun to see the community already speculating about what could get in the game as a map, as a faction. And, who knows, we could take inspiration for that as well.
We're going to see some Rabbids backgrounds. Who can say?
Maybe.
Who can say?
All right, and next up, he is asked about how abilities are actually going to be balanced in XDefiant. And obviously, we know that there's more coming, which is great because I'm really curious myself as to what they're going to bring to the table. And honestly, even though I would like to see little adjustments made to it, one thing I will say is that I have spent a good amount of time with a multitude of abilities, to be honest with you. Like recently, I've been playing with DedSec nearly nonstop. I've played with Phantoms. I literally have put in a good amount of time with every single faction and ability. And despite the fact that there are things that need to be tuned and or changed and adjusted, so to speak, I really like the fact that at any given point, if I feel like playing as such faction, I can go ahead and do that, as opposed to just not touching it at all, because it's just not something that I prefer with my playstyle or whatnot, or I personally with my playstyle or just the way I prefer to play and what I like, this has no use. Actually, every single faction has its use for me. And sometimes I'll even change it on the fly depending on whatever happens in match. But a lot of times I just find myself using this faction for like an entire session or more, or I'll use that faction for an entire session or more. It really just depends on the mood. So the fact that you could always go back to it is great. And the fact that there's more coming, again, is also great. And I'm actually really curious as to myself, not exactly what those factions will be in terms of like what the characters are for Ubisoft, but what those abilities will be. Now, obviously, they're tied into what those characters are, so because they do have to make sense. But with that being said, I'm really curious as to exactly which abilities will actually be put into the game and how they're going to work. I'm actually excited, and I know with the feedback that we've been giving and that we've been getting back, and to the adjustments that are coming soon, I will say that I know that the team is listening. So let me let Mark answer this question, and then we will be back.
Well, super quick before we get going, what can you say about how abilities will continue to be balanced in XDefiant?
Yeah.
I mean, as I said earlier, we have a great way to gather the data, but we want also to see the behavior of players and what they talk about the most, what they pick the most. And we have to remember there are many different modes, so some abilities might be better in some modes and others, some maps. So it's always good to really nail down exactly what all that data means, and then we'll balance. And as always, sometimes it will be better, sometimes not, but we'll keep balancing over and over.
I think the fun thing that's been, it's again, game's only been out for 2.5 weeks, not even 3 weeks yet, right? And from day one, you get people going, oh, this is OP. Day 2, no, this is OP. Day 3, this is OP. And so we have seen a lot of YouTube videos, whatever, talking about this gun's OP, this gun's OP, this is the new meta, this is the meta. It's only been 2.5 weeks, and we can actually see the data where people are sort of following these trends of what's popular at the moment and moving along those trends. So again, 2.5 weeks, it's not enough time yet to say we know what the balance is, but we will be keeping an eye on it. Again, we're going to be super transparent about it, and no stealth nerfs and no hidden agendas on what we're doing.
Yeah.
Wow, did you guys hear that? No stealth nerfs and no hidden agendas. You gotta love it, man. It's like Mark Rubin is continuously what's it called? He's continuously not only being transparent, but in the process, he's also coming out. He's also, in a way, calling out other studio devs, or maybe not devs, but or publishers actually, that basically say, "Hey, you guys are doing this. Well, we're not doing that. We're not spending hundreds of millions of dollars on trailers and stuff like that. We'd rather put our money back into the game, so to speak, and do things the old-fashioned way." Or things like, "Hey, we don't have a hidden agenda. No stealth nerfs." Right. So basically, he just confirmed that. Like, have you guys ever felt like whenever you played, like, let's say, let's talk about Call of Duty, to where they where it feels like a weapon all of a sudden just didn't work the way it used to. There are things as stealth nerfs. I remember Pwn Stars, like way back in the day, I don't remember which Call of Duty game it was specifically. Like, see, when you play a game, for long enough, you could tell when something's not quite like it was, and you can tell that it feels different and all that kind of stuff. So when you get veterans of shooters, whether they're highly, well, all of them are highly skilled, but there's obviously like that top percentile, for instance, like a Pwn Stars, for instance. Whenever he mentions something like that, it's like, yeah, okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one that felt that, so to speak, because sometimes I know that I can get in my head. I'm an overthinker by nature as it is. It's just me. So I'm like, okay, this is true. So therefore, things that you guys might feel when you play other games or whatnot, or an inconsistency, or feels like something's been nerfed, or it feels like something is just not working the way it should be, or things like aim resist, so to speak, right? Or your aim assist all of a sudden not working mid gunfight, or when you get into a certain engagement, so to speak, right? Well, there's a little bit of a hint to that just by what he said or whatnot. But with that being said, guys, I'm really excited in terms of what they're going to show at Ubisoft Forward tomorrow. I may not be able to put the video out in time. It will come out a little bit later, so to speak, because by the time the Ubisoft Forward takes place, I will actually be at work. However, I will have my phone with me. I will probably be hearing about the news on Twitter or whatnot, even though I won't be able to watch anything. And of course, I will probably be making a separate video on that in and of itself. But this little interview that I actually happened to miss, I didn't see it when it happened. I actually ended up taking a really long nap really late into the day, and then after I wake up I see this and I'm like, yep, it's video time. So I was really pleased with this. I really love how Mark Rubin continues to be transparent. I love how the devs are actually supporting the community and listening. And before I go, there's only one request. I mean, we know things that, like, over time, especially this next upcoming patch, obviously, that we're going to get next week and the following week as well, is going to nerf the bunny hopping, so to speak, so that way it's working as it was intended to, so to speak, as opposed to, unlimited amount of bunny hops without a penalty, as well as the first of many fixes coming to the netcode, which is great, and those should be, top priorities. But honestly, it's kind of sad for a player like me, to a certain degree, because, well, not in terms of that aspect of what I just discussed or what was said in this interview, but I'm talking like, I don't know if there's ever going to be a free-for-all mode that's going to be put into this game, because free-for-all, even if you go back into Call of Duty, even though Call of Duty hasn't really had a player count for a very long time since Call of Duty Ghosts, there have been percentiles, so to speak, to where, like, let's say in Black Ops 3, for instance, or in Black Ops 4, I think as well, where they would tell you, like, whenever you would highlight a game mode before you pressed, to search, it would tell you, like, what percentage of the population would be in a like in terms of the game, in terms of people playing it. And free for all, I think, was either at 5% or less than 5% or something like that, or maybe even 1% or something like that. Like, not many people play free for all, unfortunately. And XDefiant, as you know, is a team-based game, but I'm glad that they're putting Team Deathmatch in there for those that want it. And who knows, maybe somewhere down the line we might get some sort of free for all. I mean, I just want a regular old free for all. I want give me a score limit to 30. Give me 8 or 9 players on the map, one of them being me, and we're good. You know, because free for all is one of my favorite game modes ever. But we're gonna have more game modes coming. So with that being said, guys, that concludes everything here. Mark Rubin continues to be the GOAT. I, for one, continue to be excited about the game. I've put in so many hours into the game already. I'm already a level 100, which is a lot for me. I know some people out there that are obviously higher. But with that being said, for me, and I work over 40 hours a week, dude. I average like, what, 43 hours a week, give or take, on average. You know, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. But let me tell you, man, that's a lot of XDefiant that I've been playing. And I love it. I've even been using the M16, and I'm not a burst rifle player for a game like this, but I've been using it because I also played a lot of Halo Infinite. And I'm like, what if I take the same philosophy that I took into Halo Infinite and apply it to XDefiant? And, you know, managed to get a couple gameplays here and there. But yeah, I just love the kind of variety that XDefiant allows me to have, and for the organic experience that the game allows me to have. So with that being said, guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you guys got a lot of info from this, and I really look forward to the Ubisoft Forward tomorrow and what they're going to announce for Season 1. One of the things is, for me, is game modes. And we're not just talking TDM, but I know they're going to have more than that. But for me personally, I'm looking forward to Prestige, and I can't wait for us to have Prestige, as well as additional camos, as well as other things as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they provide, and of course, a new map. Maps are always great, so one a month, I'll take it. Anyway, guys, that's it. Thank you all for taking the time to watch and or listen, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.